Welcome back to Ruapuna Speedway's Methanol Madness. On tonight's episode, we're going to review our Canterbury Championships, give away some free tickets, take a look at the entry lists for our big carnival fireworks night coming up, and catch up with current 1NZ Joel Myres Jr. AJ, how great was it to get a full night of racing under our belts at the Speedway?
Yeah, hi Lou. Look, it was brilliant. I was a little nervous earlier in the day when it was bucketing down out there, but the weather gods, it actually worked in our favour, didn't it? You know, got some extra moisture into that racetrack. Big fields. It was just such a good night.
Played very much so in our favour, but there was a fair bit of carnage throughout our last meeting. RJPTV did a great job at capturing them all, which we shared in a compilation on our social media, but tonight's Concut Crash of the week goes to this one involving Blake Finlay in the TQs. AJ, this was a pretty big one as he seems to just cartwheel over the couple of cars turned around there.
Yeah, it was, and the reality is, you know, that tight competition that you've got when you've got cars racing into a corner in a bunch, and all it takes is one car to get slightly out of shape or check up or something, and it is all go. What I cannot get over is the way that Blake Finlay's car was absolutely launched, but it was the angle that he ran into the spinning car, and that's really what did all the damage.
Yeah, it just seemed to come in a little bit there, and as soon as he kind of just turned it to almost avoid the situation, it kind of ended up worse for wear. But that was, of course, his second crash in just a couple of weeks after that big one at Ellesmere as well. So it's good to see Blake on the entry lists for Ellesmere this weekend. But as we take one more slow motion look at this, as he just catapults over Jess Morris there, making contact with the 91 of Ethan Smith and landing down on all fours there. So a big tumble there for Blake, but glad to see him walk away in the car repairable.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big hit on any team's racing budget too. But a great wee racer, Blake, and, you know, put it in the book of tricks, put it in the box of memories.
It's now time for the Ruapuna Speedway review of the week. We're going to take a look back at our Avon Insurance Canterbury Championships that was held on November 16th. It was a clean sweep in the quarter midgets for Jackson Clark, who took out both heats and the feature. The feature was cut short due to a couple of incidences there, AJ, but how good was the battle between Jackson and Ryan Gallagher?
It was really good, and the competitive nature of the quarter midgets just keeps on improving and improving. You know, every time that the front runner sort of gets a little bit of a break, someone is always working their way through the traffic, and I did say on the first show that I was picking Ryan Gallagher was going to have a really good season, and that was an epic battle.
Great to see them so close in the field as well. It was also great to see the rookies getting amongst it, with Carter O'Brien also picking up the quarter midget driver of the day. The official feature results there were first Jackson Clark, second Ryan Gallagher, and third Brodie Morris. And in the modified sprints, it was Jaden Fraser making the trip up from Invercargill, but was no challenge for Liam Astle, who at one point had a 1.7 second lead in the feature. It's not exactly a tough prediction to make. We can probably expect to see Liam dominating the modified sprints this season.
Yeah, he is absolutely setting the pace, isn't he? The battle behind him is really good. You know, there's a real mixed bag of guys that are all snapping away trying to get their opportunity, but Liam Astle, he is absolutely on a tear right now.
He is, and it's good to see Cooper Forbes also putting down some serious pace as well in just his first year in the class, who picked up second place in Heat 2. We can always expect the Avon Insurance cars to be up in the mix as well, with Brett Booth and Neil Carey in many battles together. I feel that the modifieds are in a pretty competitive place at the moment, AJ.
I think it's perhaps the most competitive it has been for the last decade, at least in the very formative years of this class. You know, there were some brilliant battles, but I think we're just about back where it was in the early 90s. And, you know, numbers produce that sort of thing. But you've also got to put in the talent that these drivers are bringing to the table. And you've got to have the guy setting the pace that gives everyone else something to strive for. And Liam Astle, he's the rabbit, and everyone is chasing him.
Yeah, so next up we had our TQ class, and it was no surprise to see Caden Barker picking up the win, but those coming up behind him offered a great show. The first couple of laps between Barker, Smith and Webb were pretty remarkable to watch, AJ. I don't think Ethan left the top shelf all night.
No, he didn't, and I love watching a guy that works that part of the racetrack, because to me Speedway is, a lot of it is about momentum, and when you're running that line, it's the momentum line. And you could actually see at the entry to the corner, he was gaining and then he'd lose a little coming out of the corners and so on. That sooner or later, the guy running the momentum line, he's going to wear them down. And, it was spectacular to watch. It was brilliant.
Jeremy Webb also in fine form for most of the night, but with the officials' decision bumping him out of the top 3 in the feature, this boosted Aaron Finlay to 3rd, behind 2nd Ethan Smith, and of course the new TQ Canterbury champion, Caden Barker. At the rate Caden is going, AJ, I just think that he's going to be the favourite to pick going into the New Zealand TQ title. Yeah,
absolutely, and I do think that this weekend, when we've got Aaron Humble here as well, the current NZ2, that's going to give us a little bit more of an insight as to the form horses. I absolutely would never write Jeremy Webb off. There's no way, but he will be sitting there saying, okay, we've got a real challenge on our hands. And the way that a New Zealand TQ championship evolves, it doesn't take much to wipe out 2 or 3 of the big guns. And then someone like Ethan Smith starts coming into contention, and I'm picking there'll be around 50 TQs at the Nationals. It is going to be a brilliant event.
Yeah, I want to save the date for that one, January 24th and 25th. Moving on now to the V6 wingless sprints. The boys from down south certainly did not come to play when it came to that grade. George Headley raced the feature to near perfection, waiting patiently to make that pass on Danny Livingston to come home as our Canterbury champion. He raced that one almost like a veteran, AJ.
Yeah, it was a great show. And those boys down south, they add something to the field. But again, the highly competitive nature of the wingless sprints means that someone like old Shooter Hawkins or the Duck, and Corey Duck Manton, give them a little bit of an opportunity, and they're certainly there. And Andrew Gregg, putting up his usual workman-like performance. They will have gone, the local boys will have gone away shaking their head a little because, they were aced.
Absolutely. Quick mention there as well on Kane Gemmett's incident in Heat 1. Pretty gnarly tumble there for Kane as they came 3 wide into turn 1. Just catching that right rear there of Andrew Gregg. Needless to say, that car sat very worse for wear in the pits for the rest of the night. As we've seen many times over the years, AJ, those wheels come at you pretty fast when you're trying to run that top line.
Yeah, absolutely. The way that there was just a slight wriggle in the Andrew Gregg car, and it was all over. And one of the things about the wingless sprints is when they start rolling, those big tyres, there's no wing to cushion it. It seems as though every time they bounce, they get higher and higher, they get more momentum because they've got the big old air tyres in them. And Kane knew he had a bit of a rough one.
Absolutely, unfortunately. So first place in the wingless sprints there went to George Headley, second place Danny Livingston from Invercargill, and third place Corey Duck Manton. Another great result there for the 42 car. The midgets also showcased some great charges in their races, but we can't look past Jay Chadwick in that first one, AJ, charging right through the field along the top there.
Super impressive. And I felt like the last couple of years there's been a little bit of inconsistency with Jay and his team, but they absolutely nailed it in their race. It was a good performance, and I hope they celebrated that one because he just dominated.
In the feature, Ben Morgan was looking stellar in his new Graham Hill Roofing 45C, but not as entirely untouchable as I expected, AJ, with Jay Chadwick really coming in the latter stages of that race.
Yeah, the competitive nature is just brilliant, isn't it? And, it was a good feature win for Ben Morgan, but Jay Chadwick, he certainly put a lot down on the table. And then when you start looking a little further back in the field, and you had Liam McCoubry, putting in some really good, solid, consistent laps. The midgets maybe, slightly down in numbers right now. Still a couple of the big dogs to arrive on the porch, but what is there is very competitive.
A great battle that was going on for third behind them with Sam McCrenna, Nathan Wilkie, and as you just spoke there, Liam McCoubry in the mix as well. But as they crossed the line, first went to Ben Morgan, second Jay Chadwick, and third Sam McCrenna. And in the Dalton's Sprint Car Summer Slam, there was no denying that it was the Daniel Anderson racing show between Joel Myres Jr. and Max Guilford. Taking a look at their heat races first, it was Guilford, Rangi and Myres each taking out a heat win. A bit of an unfortunate one in heat 2 there for Steve Duff Jr. and Greg Clements, AJ. It got a bit hectic coming into turn 1.
Yeah, it was chaos, wasn't it? And again, you know, it's just a couple of cars having some minor contact. I really did feel for the Duff team because that car was really, really trashed. And, you know, it was a big ride for Steve Jr. But, yeah, they come off the ropes and they'll live to race another day. And, you know, that's the nature of the Duff team. But, boy, that Daniel Anderson Motorsport team, they are the A team. And they're going to take some beating anywhere in New Zealand.
I do want to discuss the quality of the racing in that feature, but firstly, the show of sportsmanship between Max and Caleb is almost a story in itself. Caleb was rightly frustrated down on the infield there, but at the end of the day, both drivers able to make light of the situation a little bit and call it a racing incident. Caleb didn't know that Max was coming. Max coming in a little too hot on a lapped car, and the rest is history. AJ, a bit of an unfortunate one there for Caleb, and obviously, of course, Max, who was on a run there leading every lap of that feature.
Yeah, Max wouldn't have felt particularly good about that, and sometimes that's just what happens. You know, the guy leading the race, he's setting the tempo, and he did go on a little bit hot. Straight after the race, I was going down the stairs from the tower, and one of the officials said to me, "Oh, you don't want to go down there, Caleb's going off his nut." And I said, "No, we should be down there selling tickets for this," because Caleb Bourne, he races with his heart on his sleeve, and he would have been frustrated, but it was so good to see that, you know, there's some great sportsmanship prevailing, and, you know, they sorted something else nice and quickly.
Joel was able to go on and lead the rest of the feature to pick up the win, but there was lots happening behind him as well. Some great performances there from Matthew Levisage and Dylan Forsey as they toyed for that last podium position, but it was Guildford that would drive back into third in the 46C, almost stealing the show a little bit, AJ.
I think he did. I really do. I felt that the minute that they put Max off the back of the field, you know, it is going to be game on, because he is one of those guys. He gets his elbows up and he was right into it, and, you know, a couple more laps, he might have been right hard on the tail of Conor Rangi, who was running in second, giving us a Daniel Anderson Motorsport Quinella.
So first place there was Joel Myres Jr., second place Conor Rangi, and third Max Guildford. Now we're going to catch up with the sprint car feature winner from our Canterbury champs, Joel Myres Jr. Joining me now is the 1NZ of Joel Myres Jr., piloting the sprint car once again this year for Daniel Anderson Racing. Joel, you got off to a pretty good start here in New Zealand, but let's run it back a little bit to your off-season, or our off-season, that you spent back home in America. You wrapped up with the Gold Cup win here at Ruapuna and then headed home. And what did that kind of look like, getting to be back with the family again after so many months away?
Yeah, it was great seeing the family for the couple of weeks I got to before we headed to the Midwest. You know, Caleb and Dylan both were asked first to fly with me, but had some technical issues with Caleb, but which, you know, sprung a lot on Dylan, and Dylan, you know, stepped up big time and was a big asset to my team for the 3 months he was there. So can't thank him enough. But yeah, it was great, you know, seeing the family and getting race. I think we ran 2 races up in Washington, which is kind of close to home, and we ran Placerville. So that was good. And then, you know, we started our trip back east and ended up running the Shitty Coolers car. So it was a great season back at home.
So talk about, obviously, the family-owned 46 JR car that you ran over on the West Coast there as well, but how did the kind of opportunity come up to run the 19H for the Hayward Motorsports team?
Yeah, you know, the whole plan was when I got home was just run the 46 and head back east with that. And just, you know, the day we were actually leaving to go back east, Leighton Crouch had called and said, hey, you know, you need to reach out to this guy, and it was Brody Hayward, and he's looking for a driver, and I think it'd be a good fit for you guys. So just got talking with Brody and Noah West, who's the crew chief, and just kind of worked out a whole plan and ended up heading back that week, you know, like we had intended with our stuff still, so I could kind of, you know, when the 19 didn't want to race, I could race my car. So it worked out, and Dylan came over to the 19 as well, and we started off with Fremont on a Monday for an outlaw show, and, you know, went off second quick and had him, you know, got tangled up in the feature, which kind of sucked, but, you know, it showed we had speed right off the bat, and it carried out through the year.
Did you notice anything straight away? Obviously, you're well versed in kind of jumping into different race cars, but stepping into their gear as opposed to Daniel Anderson's or your own back at home. But was there anything that you kind of noticed, or did you gel straight away with that team?
No, I feel like we gelled straight away. Me and Noah, I felt like worked really well together. You know, Noah's new to it, and so am I still. So we just, you know, put, you know, ideas together, and you know, my ideas of shocks and his ideas of cars, and it seemed to play out, I felt, fairly well.
So you had a pretty jam-packed schedule over there. Obviously, it's nothing uncommon for Americans to be running 60-plus races in a season, but what did that kind of look like for you guys? What were some events that you got to tick off that you were really looking forward to? There was a couple of big crown jewels in there with the 4 Crown and the Knoxville Nationals as well that you guys ran together there. So what did that kind of look like for you, kind of planning out your schedule with them?
Yeah, it was great. We got to run 4 Crown, like you said, and then we went back for Kings Royal. We did Knoxville Nationals. We did a lot of races in a short period of time, it felt like. So that was good. And, when the 19 wasn't racing, I was racing the 46, whether it's back east or, on the West Coast for Trophy Cup. We got to pick off a lot of good races this year. And, I felt like we were very strong at a lot of them. So, can't really complain. Struggled a lot at Eldora and Knoxville, but I'm not too much of a big track guy yet. So got to work on that part. But, obviously just need a lot of laps on big tracks to get good.
Definitely preempted my next question there about those different track sizes. Being from California, a lot of them are quarter miles over there, as well as here in New Zealand we have a lot smaller tracks, which obviously you're well versed at racing on now. But the laps that you did get to experience on those big half-mile tracks and things like that, do you think that they almost kind of aid your racing in a way, even when you come back to the quarter-mile tracks, that there's always an opportunity to be improving with the more laps you do?
Yeah, there's always, stuff you can learn at the big track that, might carry over to small track you learn. It's just with big track racing at home, you have a lot of dirty air, and, it gets with the car a lot and changes the way the car reacts throughout the race a lot. So it's just, tough trying to play with dirty air. And, when you struggle a lot and qualify bad, you have a lot of dirty air, unfortunately. So, it's just part of learning. And, obviously this year the plan is to get a lot more laps in Knoxville going into nationals.
So looking at the kind of races that you did run and stuff, you haven't mentioned your wins yet, which you did pick up a couple of those with the IRA series. Talk about how good it was to pick up those wins with that series.
Yeah, it was great. We won, I think, 2 or 3 at Plymouth, which is one of my favorite tracks. It's obviously small, and it just kind of beat the fence down. So, that was good. And there was one weekend we won back-to-back both nights, so that was great. And Jacksonville is another track that's super small and beat the fence down as well. So picked off a lot of, good wins, and as well as a lot of podiums with the IRA series. And, just consistency was a big thing. And, I feel like we ticked out a lot of that.
So moving forward into what is now your 3rd season in New Zealand with Daniel Anderson racing, obviously last year picking up the 1NZ for the first time, winning the Gold Cup. Back-to-back War of the Wings championships. You've certainly kind of already ticked off a lot of goals that some of our drivers probably have yet to achieve. So what are you looking to do this season?
Yeah, like you said, we've ticked off a lot of big wins, and, the Grand Prix is one more that I want to win. Felt like last year kind of got stolen, but, it's part of racing with flappers and everything else. So, just come back this year, heads high, and DAR has been really good this year, so there's no reason we shouldn't be contending for the win there, and also as well, hopefully, pick off the South Island title as well this year, and hopefully the North Island as well.
So whilst obviously a lot of Ruapuna supporters, you probably have seen Joel Myres Jr. race in person a number of times, but Joel, for those people that maybe are new to Ruapuna or new to seeing you race here in New Zealand, what was the kind of journey like for you kind of joining up with Daniel Anderson Racing, and how has it grown into what it has become today of such a solidified partnership with you guys? Yeah,
I met Dan and Courtney about 3 years ago in Skagit, Washington. I was racing Dirt Cup, and Doug Roots, who I drive for over in the States occasionally, walked up and said, "You need to meet these people," and met, and I junked the car that night, so I was kind of surprised they wanted me to come race. But yeah, it was, it started off, it was me coming over for 3 months, and turned me coming back for April, and then turned into the next year and this year. So it's been a great 3 years with Dan, and I felt like Dan's built a really, really good team for New Zealand, and it shows, between me and Max, the last couple of weeks, even going up to the North Island, both cars were top 5 cars. So, it just shows the powerhouse team he's built.
So Max kind of joined Daniel Anderson Racing late last season, coming in for a couple of races there when Daniel was injured, and then obviously now stepping into a full-blown teammate of yours. How was the dynamic like between you and Max? Obviously you're both very young but pretty accomplished racers, and how does that kind of work between the two of you, balancing kind of racing on the track and your friendship off it?
Yeah, me and Max didn't start off too well friends. We didn't quite get along, but it's turned into really good friendship off the racetrack, and work really well together. We're together 24/7. So obviously got to get along now, but it's been good, and we've done plenty of things like going on the boat and hanging out, and then obviously like I said, work well together and get both cars going around the racetrack pretty well.
So with the kind of dynamic that you have at the racetrack, obviously you both want to win. How does that play into what you're looking at when you're looking at the track conditions and setting up cars and things like that? I know that you take a lot of that on yourself. How do you kind of balance that with obviously both of you wanting to run on the podium? Yeah,
honestly, like the other night, Ruapuna, both cars were identical. I told them it was almost like we need to do something different so we're not so identical, but it just shows, both cars are really good, and we've worked really hard to make sure that they're identical, parts wise and setup wise. Spent a lot of time on scales and other stuff to try and make them right. Because we knew my car is was pretty fast the year before, so we're just trying match every other car we have to it. So which I feel like we've done, and it's shown.
So you picked up the Avon Insurance Canterbury Championship just a couple of weeks ago at Ruapuna. Kind of run us through what you were thinking for that feature, obviously tailing behind Max for a lot of it. You see him and Caleb get tangled up there and obviously inheriting the lead there. Was there anything kind of going through your head that you thought you had anything for Max in that feature before that incident?
Clean air, I felt like Max's car was a little bit better. Just, having clean air, anyone's car is really much better. But that's what I was kind of hoping, we'd get to lap traffic, really. Didn't want to see him wreck Caleb. We all, joke about it now, and Caleb came and helped us last weekend. So that's, didn't want to see that, but, just was hoping we had longer laps in lap traffic to kind of let me and Max race it out. I've told Max the last week and a half, hey, thanks for giving me that win. So, it was good. Once we got out front, and I just knew if I hit my mark every lap and ran good, clean laps, I had a really good pace, and just really never got into, Connor never really showed his nose, so I just was like, okay, just get through lap traffic cleanly, so which we did, and picked off the win.
So then a little bit of a last-minute change for the team. You guys headed up north last week for the last 2 rounds of the International Sprint Car Series, racing up there in Palmerston North and at Western Springs as well. You both did pretty well, as you just said there, top 5 cars. So very, good results for you guys, especially for some of those tracks we've only raced on a couple of times at Western Springs, obviously. But with your experience in the States, it doesn't seem to kind of shake you too much going to those new tracks.
Yeah, Palmerston North was the first time for me, as Max has ran them multiple times. But, we rolled out of the gate really good, and just kind of kept our noses clean through the heat races. Main event, I wasn't too good. I just was trying, float around, try and find, where I felt better. But, and then Rodney Wood had blown a tire, and it kind of messed up my rhythm. And Max got by, and then eventually got by Brady and ran 3rd. So, and we ran 5th. So it wasn't too bad. Can't thank them enough for having us up there. The original plan was run Palmerston and come home for Nelson. But with Nelson canceling at Western Springs, and there's a, pretty good night at Western Springs as well. I didn't make the dash, just wasn't very good through the heat races. And like Max was really good through the heat races. It was like we swapped for the features. But, picked off 3rd and ended up 2nd in the International Series points. So I thought that was pretty good.
Definitely, obviously getting up there and getting that experience ahead of the New Zealand title at Kiki, which is another track that you've never raced at. But with that coming up in March, is there you're feeling good against the North Island competition, especially with the strength that you both have showed already this season? Yeah, for sure. Obviously there was quite a few good cars that also went to Bay Park. So, didn't get everybody in one race, but I feel like our cars are good enough, to kind of unload and be good anywhere, as it showed kind of Palmerston North not being there. So, just kind of title's one of those things you got to keep your nose clean for all 5 heat races and set yourself up for the feature. And, the feature's kind of the easy part, right? I feel like, because you don't have 5 heat races, well, you have to make sure you finish. So just, it's one of those things. It's always, keep your nose clean and try and start up front. So I'm sure that the New Zealand title is probably pretty high on your focus at the moment of looking forward to March there. But what kind of other meetings have we got coming up that you're looking forward to running? Of course, there's a lot of War of the Wings travel around South Island and things like that. I'm sure there's some tracks that you're looking forward to getting back to.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to Ellesmere after the last time we were there. It's, like I said, one of my racetracks that, can get up and pound the fence. So really looking forward to Ellesmere and all the War of the Wings races. Hopefully go for 3 championships in a row. Also, I feel like this year will be a little tougher with Max, and you got Connor's been good too. So just kind of gotta again keep your nose clean and finish all the races with the points format being different than the year before, the first year that I won. So I feel like we'll be really good, and there's no reason we shouldn't go for a three-peat.
Well, thanks for joining the show tonight, Joel. Of course, you can catch him this weekend at Ruapuna in the 1NZ Daniel Anderson Racing Sprint Car for our Carnival Fireworks Night, brought to you by Dalton's Landscape Supplies. Thanks for joining us, Joel. Appreciated your insight there on your season back in America. And next up on the show, we're going to take a look at our giveaways. Now it is time to get into our giveaways this week, starting with our Share and Win, where we give away 10 adult passes to our meeting this Saturday night. This week's 10 lucky winners are Nicola Bensley, Rebecca Smith, Erin May Taylor, Daniel Hobbs, Tim Clark, Katie Tyson, Courtney Webster, Troy Fisher, Jason Gervin and Kyle Burt. So congratulations to those 10. All you have to do is bring along some valid photo ID to the VIP booth tomorrow night to collect your free entry into the Speedway. We also had another giveaway online this week for a free stream thanks to our live streaming partners RJPTV. It was a Caption This graphic, and the winning caption was, "I definitely should not have drunk those Red Bulls before driver's briefing," commented by Carl Healy. Congratulations, Carl. You've scored yourself a free viewing of our event this weekend, which we will be in touch with you about how to redeem this prize. We also have another exciting opportunity for our viewers here tonight tuning into Methanol Madness. It is early days yet, but if you comment your prediction right now for the winner of the New Zealand TQ title, we're going to pick one lucky person who's going to win a free stream for both nights of the Melrose Motorsport New Zealand TQ title, which now features the City South Van Spears Sidecar Masters as well. AJ, a great opportunity for our viewers to be tuned in to the return of the sidecars at Ruapuna.
Who would miss it? Yeah, it's going to be great, isn't it? And the sidecars, they've got their own set of fans, and it's going to really add something to the New Zealand TQ Championship, which I've said for a wee while is going to be an outstanding event, and this is just going to add some real spice to the occasion. Really looking forward to it.
So comment those predictions right here on this episode, and we're going to announce the winner on our next episode here coming up in a couple of weeks. So next up, we're going to take a look at the Ranch Bar and Grill preview of the week. Saturday, November 30th is our Carnival Fireworks Night featuring the Dalton Sprint Car Summer Slam. AJ, we've got the sprint cars, the V6 wingless, modified sprints, TQs and the quarter midgets on tap tomorrow night, and there's plenty of heavy hitters in those fields. Absolutely, and off the track, we've got the fun of the fair, haven't we? But the entry list has just blown me away for all the classes, good solid numbers, 30 TQs for goodness sake, and including 2 or 3 of the very best. Caden Bark, he's going to have his hands full if he's going to continue being unbeaten against Aaron Humble and Jeremy Webb. It's stacked, it really is. Absolutely. So starting with our 22 quarter midgets that we currently have registered. Lots travelling from all over for this one for round 2 of the Mike Greer Holmes Nelson quarter midget series, which Laken Thompson currently leads by 8 points over Jackson Clark. I think that the real competition this weekend might just be between Jackson and Laken, AJ. Laken, he's a real wee talent, isn't he? And
Jackson, he's already showing he's a big event racer, and it's going to bring the best out in him. The quarter midgets are certainly well worth watching.
Absolutely. We've also got 14 modified sprints on tap as well, but of course I think Liam Astel's going to be the one to watch, but we've seen Harry McIntyre and Shane Tonkin and the likes kind of creeping their way up there as well, so I'm sure that they will be aiming for a podium spot.
Yeah, never write Harry McIntyre off. He's really cunning, isn't he? And if he gets a chance, they will really have to race to haul him in.
And the biggest class of the night, 30 TQs registered to race our Carnival Fireworks Night. A massive field, AJ, which we're no stranger to at Ruapuna of the TQs, a very popular class down here. But with round 2 of the Pro-Cut Concrete Cutting TQ Tri-Series, there is lots of competitors travelling from Nelson again, very similar to the quarter midgets as well, but there are lots of people to keep your eye on in this entry list.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sort of a bit nervous about that number of cars. The heat races are potentially going to have 18 to 20 cars, and it'll be the guy that can, or the driver who can sort of keep their nose clean and avoid any carnage. And when you've got some of the very best there, they're going to want to prove a little bit of a point. This is an opportunity before the Nationals, really, for them all to sort of get to know each other at Ruapuna, and it is a slightly different beast to Nelson, and TQs are going to be well worth it.
And of course, you mentioned earlier the 2NZ of Aaron Humble in the Yale TQ making his way down from the North Island. Great to have Aaron join us. He's been plagued with a couple of issues the last couple of meetings he's run up in the North Island. So hopefully the team have got those under control, and I'm sure he will be wanting to come in to be a force to be reckoned with against the likes of Caden Barker, Jeremy Webb, Ethan Smith, Aaron Finlay. The list goes on of those front runners.
Yeah, it's a long list, isn't it? And Aaron Humble, they haven't just come down here to burn some fuel on the trip down, have they? It's going to be spectacular.
It is indeed. We've also got the wingless sprints on tap as well. Kirk Hawkins, always one to put on a show, especially with such a great crowd expected. But of course, Corey Duckmanton has been running exceptionally well.
Corey's surprised a lot of people, but towards the end of last season, he was really starting to show some pace, and he's got the racecraft that's starting to go with it as well, a very well prepared car. Old Shooter's going to have to really pull the stops out this weekend.
And we've also got the Dalton's Sprint Car Summer Slam. And we just spoke with Joel a little bit earlier, who's looking forward to being there in the 1NZ machine. Max Guilford missing from this entry list this week, but we've got plenty of others as well, AJ. And we've got Jonathan Allard coming to town. Yeah, how good. Jonathan Allard, that's just been made official. JA's coming down for this one, and big thanks to Dalton's, who are such great supporters of us. And there's a couple of other drivers making a return to the racetrack as well, so they're really going to turn it on. And it'll be great to see Conor Rangi hopefully putting the Dalton's 57N back in victory lane as well. No Greg Clements after his little incident there, but good to see Steve Duff Jr. back on the entry list as well. Yeah, that's brilliant, isn't it? Junior drove a borrowed car down at Cromwell last weekend, and Greg was actually down at Cromwell as well, but for whatever reason can't be there this week. And Oscar Harcourt returns as well, so the numbers just keep growing, don't they? A very strong field of sprint cars once again. AJ, Carnival Night is one that we look forward to every year. We've got free face painting, bouncy castles, carnival rides, and of course all of the on-track action as well, and plenty of free giveaways at the fan zone. I'm sure that there's plenty that we're looking forward to this weekend. What are some highlights you think might come out of this one? For starters, I love the atmosphere. There's something really cool about looking across a racetrack with cars and hearing people on the ride screaming and carrying on. It adds something to it. I do think the TQs have got a really good opportunity here, and it's also a bit of an opportunity for the officials to be just checking them out as well. And don't be surprised if the rule book's brought out and waved around with some of the on-track stuff, just to sort of serve notice. That's going to be good. The quarter midgets, the numbers and the ability of these kids is unbelievable. But I think really the big thing now is the addition of Jonathan Allard to the sprint cars. He's such a popular driver, and he doesn't come down here only to win, but he also comes down here to help the other local drivers and so on. And it's going to be a really great battle. I can just see it looming between JA and his fellow Californian Joel Myres, and then you start putting
Connor Rangi into the mix, and Dylan Forsey. There's some real statements that are going to be made on Saturday night.
I agree, and it is a great event to bring the family along to. We've got all the on-track action covered, as well as plenty of entertainment for the kids and families, with the carnival rides especially. Very popular, and the ticket sales are going fast, so make sure you buy them online, or you can still buy them at the gate. That concludes episode 3 of Methanol Madness, brought to you by Ruapuna Speedway. We will see you all trackside tomorrow for the Dalton's Carnival Fireworks Night. The live stream is available if you can't join us trackside with RJPTV. But until next time on the show, keep your foot up it.